We continue meeting terrific educators and also folks who were not formally educators, but they were educating people down at the New Jersey Education Association convention. Alicia DiLorenzo is a speaker, executive coach, and therapist. She was a keynote speaker at the convention. Jackie, what should people be expecting in the interview that I did with Alicia, which really is very powerful?
Yes, Alicia, an educator for 20 years, but also a licensed therapist, and deciding after implementing some special techniques and things within her school when she was an educator to help her fellow teachers and support staff professionals in her own school deal with burnout, the mental health issues that our teachers face to make them better educators so that they can implement that and put that forth onto the children that they are teaching. So, she saw a need for this after seeing what happened at her school. She put teaching in, the one sense of the way that we would think about teaching on hold to really go around to over 100 schools now in New Jersey that she's visited to work with the educators, like I said, and help them with their mental health and implement some special practices within the school that in turn is really she's seeing firsthand being so profound on the students that they're teaching.
Jackie, there's a quote that she shared. She said, this is interesting. This is from Alicia. I want educators to know that they are valued, as so many are, quote, tired and underappreciated. I mean, I have this, I'm not going to get into this whole leadership thing, but there's Abraham Maslow has Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If you research it, it was a great researcher and psychologist who came up with a theory that we all have these needs, these human needs: food, shelter, safety. But as you move up this hierarchy of needs, it's being appreciated, being acknowledged, being seen, being recognized. Not overrated, Jackie.
Yeah, not at all. And she saw the need for that. She also says teachers are my people, and she's just thriving in that way. And that was all part of her keynote address there at the New Jersey Education Association's convention this year. And I know it was a really powerful message that she left with those educators and those support professionals within our New Jersey community of teachers, those folks that are really our unsung heroes in so many ways. And we know how important it is to support and continue to support our educators and the work that they're doing.
I promise I won't get on my soapbox on this either. Do your kid a favor, do our school system a favor, do our teachers a favor, and just say thank you. Just let them know you appreciate what they're doing with our kids. Even if you don't agree or like everything a teacher does, that teacher, the vast, vast, vast majority of them are all in for our kids. Underpaid, underappreciated, pretty tired. Hey, for Jackie and myself, you're going to take a look at an interview we did down in Atlantic City with Alicia DiLorenzo, a terrific educator, both formerly as a teacher and now as a motivational speaker and therapist. Let's check it out. Hi, everyone. Steve Adubato. More importantly, Alicia DiLorenzo, a speaker, not a speaker, a great speaker, one of the keynote speakers here at the NJEA convention, executive coach and therapist. Good to see you.
Thank you. Good to see you, too.
Now, there's a reason why you're here. One of the big themes, we just talked to the president of the NJEA, Sean Spiller, about the mental health, the well-being of our educators.
Yeah.
That's where you come in. Talk about it.
Yeah, so I've been in education for a long time, almost 20 years I was in education, but I'm also a licensed therapist. So I got to see both sides of the table, not only for young people, but for our adults. And this has been going on. It's been a long time that our students and our teachers' mental health has been challenged. And quite honestly, for a long time, people didn't want to talk about it. They said, we can't talk about this in education. It's not the place for it. And I think in this moment right now, we're saying that we can't not talk about it. The things that teachers are being faced with and the challenges.
Sorry for interrupting. Name the most challenging, difficult aspects of being an educator. Listen, people choose to be educators. The educators we talk here love what they do.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean there aren't real pressures that are challenging on so many levels. Talk about them.
Yeah, there's so many challenges right now. I think, to name that the system is quite broken, that there's a sense that teachers don't have the freedom in the agency to really like take the kids and what kids need in this moment and really address that, because everyone has a voice, everyone has an opinion, everyone's pointing a finger. So it really stifles that creativity, the relationships that teachers can have and build, which is some of the most trusting relationships that kids have in their lives, is like that first, relationship with someone who really sees them and gets them and values them. Not that that's not coming from home, but like teachers are the next best place where that's coming from. And for what's happening right now to stifle that ability for teachers to show up fully for students, I think is, something that we have to really be aware of.
Do you think on some level teachers have become targets for some with a quote unquote political and not so much an educational agenda? I know that's a loaded question, but please.
Yeah, education's always been political, but I definitely think that teachers right now have targets on their back because of the position that they're in. There's some mandates here, right, that they're being told are mandatory and the law now for them to teach. And then if they do that, there's this risk socially and within the community to say, I don't agree with that mandate and I'm going to take it out on you.
Mandates having to do with the LGBTQ community, mandates having to do what parents get to know and don't know, and under what circumstances, mandates about teaching about race.
Yeah, curriculum mandates. Yep.
And did teachers come to you? Because my understanding is you do a lot of traveling all around the state, around the nation, talking about this.
Yes.
How do people find you?
Yeah, so it's really been pretty organic. I did some work in my district that was really transformative. It was taking an integrative approach to education that didn't just focus on academics, but focused on all the other things that young people are bringing to the table that gets in the way of their academics, their mental health, that trauma.
Is that positive disruption?
We'll get there.
Or is that that's not that?
That's not that.
Okay,
yeah.
go ahead.
But it is in a sense. So the work that we did in my district was really transformative, and we saw great outcomes with students, a decrease in discipline over 60%, academic growth in some classrooms, 3 years of academic growth in 1 year. And
your school district?
From
where was it?
It was in Asbury Park School District at that time.
Not an easy district.
Not an easy
Real
district.
challenges, urban community.
Absolutely. And my first 4 years of teaching were in Bergen County, and some of the most privileged communities, affluent. And here's the thing, it didn't matter what the zip code was, kids were still facing incredible challenges. They were faced with lots of mental health issues and stressors that were getting in the way of their learning. And if we're not going to address that, right, then we really can't get to the learning piece of it. But to get back to the question about how do people
started
find
doing it in
my
your district, and
yeah.
then word got out, hey, we need her?
Yeah, so school boards took me on a tour of the state, every county, to talk about what we were doing. And Asbury was happy for me to share that story because we were just seeing a real difference, a real change in this approach. And went to every county and started talking about this work that we did, telling that story. And then inevitably, people were asking, well, like, can we work with you? And I was not able to while I was teaching, but eventually I looked at my calendar and booked a year out. And schools across the state, a year out, I was booked for an entire year. And that's when I decided this is bigger than one.
You went all in?
I went all
Full
in.
time.
Yeah, 100%. This is so much bigger.
Why so hold on, I was gonna ask you about rewarding, but this gets my attention because disruption is always a fascinating word to me. But then you put positive disruption.
Yeah.
Define it.
Positive disruption. It's the thing that you do uniquely different, just a little bit different, and get better results.
For example?
For example, there's teachers that are getting better engagement right now in the midst of all the chaos, and they're doing just something uniquely different. How they do that thing, where they greet their students, they look them in the eye, they ask about their family or a connection that they know. The one thing that they're doing that's uniquely different, they have the same access and the same resources as their colleagues do. They're in the same environment with the same stressors, and that they're still getting better engagement. How do they do that? That's the question. And in education, we don't look to those people who are positively disrupting. Oftentimes those people, and I was a positive disruptor, if you cannot tell.
Without even coming up with a name, before you had a name for it,
Yeah.
you were a positive disruptor.
Already, absolutely. Disrupting a system, disrupting the status quo by just something uniquely different that we're doing that oftentimes we don't even know is that uniquely different.
Hold on a second. I'm a student of and a teacher of leadership.
Yes.
And to me, you could have a lot of names for what you do, but you're a leadership coach as well, obviously.
Sure.
So I'll often say, and I won't get on my soapbox, I promise. I'll often say, we can't be on autopilot. do what you do every day, the way you do it, that's what we do.
That's right.
This positive disruption forces you not to be on autopilot and go, hey, wait a minute. How can I positively, you help fill in the blanks.
Yeah, you know, if you are a positive deviant, right? If you're a person who's doing that thing that's uniquely different, you might not even realize it. But what it forces us to do is look at those people differently. What do we do when there's a problem? We have a negativity bias. We look at the problem, we don't look at the people who are successful. We're not looking at, oh, but how did, you know, that Miss Johnson or, you know, Mr. How are they getting that out of their students during this time? And their peers are suffering. So we don't often look at the solution, we look at the problem. And this forces us to see it differently. It forces us to say, but wait a second, there's wisdom right now, right here. People have found a way amongst us to do it differently and get better results. How do we learn from them? That's not happening in education.
Where's your passion come from?
Ah,
I mean, don't tell me you're Italian American because we already talked. But you know, is there a thing about our people that way? They're very overtly passionate.
I think you can find a lot of people.
This is not on the agenda. I assure you, this is not what we were going to talk about. Is there something there in your family? I did this right away with my family.
You did. You went right there.
Family?
You know, when I look back on my experience of life, I was very supported by my family, but I didn't get these foundations. The justice, the foundation of justice that so drives me. I mean, it fuels me. They didn't necessarily come, but I was supported by my family. For me, teachers were the people in my life who showed me things beyond what my family showed me. And they heard me in a way that maybe was difficult for my family to hear from me.
Are teachers your people?
Teachers are my people. I mean, they are my people. I talk on big stages now, outside of education, but teachers are my people.
How much you love it?
I was asked a question 10 years ago in grad school. And the question was, if you could do one thing and know that you wouldn't fail, what would you do? And my response, without hesitation, was change the face of education. That was a decade ago.
That's what you're doing every day.
It feels that way.
Alicia DiLorenzo, check out, we've had her information up. Find out more. Executive coach, therapist, a great speaker, and an educator.
And an educator.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Steve.
One-on-One with Steve Adubato is a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating 30 years in public broadcasting. Funding has been provided by the New Jersey Education Association, NJ Best, New Jersey's 529 College Savings Plan, RWJ Barnabas Health, Let's Be Healthy Together, Rutgers University, Newark, PNC Foundation, New Jersey Sharing Network, PSEG Foundation, Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, and by NJM Insurance Group. Promotional support provided by NorthJersey.com and Local IQ, and by BestOfNJ.com.
Hello, I'm Donald Payne Jr., Congressman from New Jersey's 10th District. One organ and tissue donor can save as many as 8 lives and improve the health of another additional 75 people. That is why I encourage everyone to register as an organ donor. For more information about organ donation, please visit www.njsharingnetwork.org.